Now, when it comes to money, all of us have very different perspectives through which we view it. We may think of it as something that is inherited or something that is earned at a job by exchanging our time. The approach that the general public takes with money is not very rational and in most cases is a response to our situational factors coupled with our upbringing, our values, and emotional and psychological state. Hello and welcome back to the channel, guys. If you're new here, my name is Arif and this is the second video in the series Booktuber. Now, the book in this video is The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. This is a fairly recent book and takes a very interesting approach to how we have been thinking about money and how we can look at it through different perspectives. It is filled with stories of different people. People who were very rich but because of some behaviors they lost everything. And people who were not so well off but because of some behavioral traits they were able to build their wealth over time. And one of the best examples that the book has is of two guys, Ronald Read and Richard Fuscone. Now, Ronald Read was a guy who fixed cars at a gas station for 25 years and swept the floors of JCPenney for 17 years. He died at the age of 92 with a net worth of $8 million. And no, before you jump to any conclusion, no, he did not win any lottery. He did not inherit any of that money. He just saved whatever he could from his income and invested into blue chip stocks and let the magic of compounding do its work. On the other hand, Richard Fuscone was exactly the opposite. He was a Harvard-educated executive with a brilliant career in finance, once also mentioned in the 40 under 40 list of successful businessmen. But due to his habits, he borrowed heavily to support his lavish lifestyle. And then the 2008 financial crisis hit and Richard Fuscone turned to dust. He eventually declared bankruptcy. Just the difference of being greedy or being patient masked the massive gap that was there between the education and experience of these two individuals. Now, there is this one line in the book that really says something. Doing well with money has a little to do with how smart you are and a lot to do with how you behave. And behavior is hard to teach, even to very smart people. Now, there is something in the book that Morgan calls the man in the car paradox. Now, let's imagine that you're waiting outside a very sweet restaurant and a bright red Ferrari just pulls over. What would your first reaction be? Now, if you're like most people, the first thought that will come into your mind is that you will start dreaming about a time where you will own this car. And how if you own this car, you will become the center of attraction of the people around you. And here is the paradox. When you noticed the car, you started dreaming about it, right? But you didn't notice the driver, did you? The man or the woman in the car probably believes the same, that they are the center of attraction. And the belief here that if you own something rich and valuable, then we will have the respect and admiration of other people is the actual paradox over here. Everyone forgets about the person and focuses on the object itself. Now, Morgan explains this behavior through a simple example that we actually are not looking to buy the luxury item, but we want the respect and admiration of other people. And that is why sometimes we go to the extent of buying something that we actually don't want and just want other people to see. Now, this doesn't mean in any way that you shouldn't buy a nice car or something, but it just means that if you are buying a nice car with a huge price tag, just know that it comes with a very high cost and little to no payoff. Now, the second learning that I got from the book is there's always a bigger fish in the ocean. Now, let's take an example as to how Morgan explains this learning. Let's assume that you have a very successful career, and for the sake of not getting confused, let's call you Dr. Money. Now, you, Dr. Money, are in the top 1% of the population that lives in your place, and you earn about $200,000 a month. Now, that's a good amount of money. Now, let's imagine that at an event you meet someone who is a CEO of a large corporation, and that person is in the 1% of the 1% of the population. Again, for the sake of not confusing, let's call you Miss CEO. And Miss CEO earns about $1 million a year. Now, how do you think Dr. Money will feel about his salary when he compares it with Miss CEO's salary? But wait, Miss CEO actually lives next door to a sports personality who has a net worth of $100 million. And then the vicious cycle continues. Because as Morgan says in the book, there is always a bigger fish in the ocean. Now, the place that we come from, our values, our upbringing, our lifestyle, everything shapes us differently. And that is why all of us see money through different lenses. Now, Morgan takes a very interesting example of lottery tickets. He says that the lowest income household in the US actually spends about 4 times the money on lottery tickets compared to our richest income households in the US. And when these same low income households will be asked to furnish an emergency fund of, let's say, $400, almost 3/4 of them will not be able to furnish them. When we look it through our lens, we might find this behavior stupid as to why they are spending so much amount of money when they can't even furnish an emergency fund. But that is where Morgan requests us to see this through a different lens. Now, a lot of these low-income households generally live paycheck to paycheck with little to zero savings. Maybe because of a stagnant career path or because of a lack of proper education, these low-income households generally are not able to progress so much in society. And that is why they use this lottery ticket method to buy their dream of having a good life. And through this lens, their behavior might not seem so bad. After this, Morgan uses this example to explain his key idea in the book about how financing advices, investing habits, money, everything is different for every individual. Day traders buy and sell the same day. Some hold their investment till they get a return of 5 to 10% and then sell off, and some go for the long haul. So with this, Morgan says that before copying someone's portfolio, just ask yourself, what is your strategy going to be? How much risk can you take? If you just look at the S&P 500 index, during the 2008 financial crisis, it almost went down 50%. And just last year, it went down 30% again. So if your strategy is to be in the short run, you might panic and then sell. Or if your strategy is to be in the long haul, you might benefit at the end. So again, just see how much risk you can take and what is your overall plan. Now, there are other key points in the book that I really like the one where Morgan talks about the seduction of pessimism, where he mentions that as humans, we are designed to give more importance towards a pessimistic approach. And we generally regard being optimistic as something naive. Now, this book definitely sparked my interest in taking a more rational approach towards money and not letting my emotional and situational factors influence my decision. So I would definitely recommend everyone giving this a read or just listen to it on Audible like I did. Now, the other 3 books that I read in February were The Spirit of Kaizen by Robert Morin, Get Smart by Brian Tracy, and Creative Confidence by David Kelly and Tom Kelly. Now, I made this video just about the first book because I wanted you guys to have key takeaways about a concise topic and not just bombard you guys with insights from 4 different books. But yeah, I will definitely try to share my insights from the other 3 books, maybe on my Instagram channel through short videos on Reels or IGTV. So do make sure to follow me on Instagram if you haven't already. I'll put the link somewhere on the screen. If you like this video and found it insightful, do make sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with a friend, colleague, or family member who might benefit from it. As always, thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.